PEMSEA started over 2 decades ago as a UNDP IMO project. Initially 2 sites, one in China and the Philippines, focused on marine pollution and litter. Over the last 2 decades, we've transformed and evolved into an intergovernmental organization. So what we do, everything we do is on behalf of 11 governments in the region. And then all 14 governments in the region of East Asia have signed a shared marine strategy. And through that strategy, our vehicle for change is really integrated coastal management. So we look at all of the issues related to healthy oceans and coasts. Mangroves are hugely important in this region. Over a third of the mangroves globally are based in this region, really in Southeast Asia. But we know we've lost over half of mangroves globally. With the work that we do, looking at taking an integrated approach, look at things like habitat restoration, food security, things like fisheries and aquaculture. We really see mangroves as being a critical resource. If you're looking at something like our origin as an organization looking at marine pollution, mangroves play a role in terms of healthy and clean water, nursery for fisheries in terms of the food security for local communities, a lot of highly vulnerable coastal communities in this part of the world, and you have mangroves serving as a way to attenuate some of the storm energy that comes in from the oceans. I think the threats to mangrove ecosystems aren't necessarily unique to this region, but we're seeing things like coastal development in terms of, say tourism, things like pollution certainly coming from dense population centers. One of the major drivers we're seeing is some of the unsustainable aquaculture practices that will actually remove mangrove areas for aquaculture. We've done some work on some of the sites in Southeast Asia where we've seen, say, shrimp aquaculture, for instance. There's different ways to approach it, and in many cases, the mangroves will just be cleared away to create just extensive shrimp ponds for raising shrimp. There's different approaches, and there's actually some interesting models that we've been seeing where you actually have integrated mangrove forest shrimp farming, where you raise the shrimp in the mangroves, not completely wild and sort of a farmed manner, but it's a way to actually have the mangroves and the shrimp production coexist. In terms of the future of the mangroves, we're really excited as an organization to see the launch of the Global Mangrove Alliance. I think that's a great step forward because I think awareness raising is really one of the most important first steps. From PEMSEA's perspective, a lot of the work that we do is with the national and local governments, so getting the right policies and governance in place. One thing that I'd mention in terms of getting the right financial mechanisms and incentives in place is an aspect of the mangroves known as blue carbon ecosystems. So that's mangroves, seagrasses, and salt marshes. When you look at these ecosystems, there's a huge implication in terms of climate change and emissions, and there are mechanisms available for bringing financing in from the international community to help protect, restore, and maintain mangrove habitat. The Global Mangrove Alliance can play a huge role when you see...
Stop that again, just because it's right.
Yeah. I think the Global Mangrove Alliance can play a huge role just with the convening power that WWF and TNC and CI have, bringing the right players to the table, both in terms of NGOs, intergovernmentals like PEMSEA. We're very much looking forward to being a part of it, bringing governments to the table and the private sector. I think that kind of convening is really important in bringing the right resources to the table.